I always knew my mom's job was different. She wasn't a normal doctor, never worked at a hospital, never had a private clinic. If someone asked, she'd just say she was a government physician and leave it at that. We lived in Nevada, not far from Groom Lake, where people knew better than to ask questions about government work. At home, she'd joke about it sometimes. "I don't have regular patients," she'd say while making dinner. "They don't exactly have insurance." I always thought she was talking about military guys, high clearance types. She made it sound like a joke, but sometimes she'd lean in, lower her voice, and whisper, "They're not human." I'd roll my eyes. "Oh yeah? You patching up aliens now?" She'd just smirk, ruffle my hair, and go back to cooking. That was our thing. A dumb joke. A weird inside joke. Or at least that's what I thought. I never questioned it. Not until a few months ago when I found the safe in her room. It wasn't small. Not the kind people use for passports or jewelry. It was a black steel-reinforced biometric safe. The kind you'd see in movies when someone's hiding serious stuff. I only noticed it because she forgot to close her bedroom door one night, and I saw the edge of it behind her dresser. Most parents keep secrets, but this was different. It stuck with me for weeks. I wasn't a kid anymore. I was 19, still living at home while finishing my first year of college. But the fact that she never mentioned it, never talked about it, made me curious. What could a doctor possibly need a safe for? One night, while she was on a 48-hour shift, I made up my mind. It had a fingerprint scanner, but my mom was a deep sleeper. I knew that from experience. A few months back, I had to borrow her phone while she was asleep. Pressed her thumb against the scanner, worked like a charm. So I did it again. The safe clicked open. Inside there were folders. No weapons, no stacks of cash, just documents. Some had U.S. Department of Defense headers. Others had NASA, Lockheed Martin, even DARPA logos. One folder stood out. No official markings. Just a handwritten label, patent files. I knew I shouldn't, but I opened it. The first thing I saw wasn't a name. It wasn't a diagnosis. It was a photo, a medical chart, clipped to the top of a page, showing a high-resolution image of something that looked human, almost, but not quite. The eyes were too big. No whites, just pure black like ink-filled glass. The skin was smooth but had an odd metallic reflection like polished stone. The face was human enough to make my stomach twist, like something had tried to make a person and got it about 90% right. Then I saw the details. Blood pressure, N-cell heart rate, N-cell oxygen saturation, N-cell under species. There was a single word, unknown. My hands were shaking, but I kept flipping through. X-rays, skeletons with elongated skulls, spines that coiled instead of stacking like ours, rib cages that looked more like insect armor than bone. One file even had a DNA sequencing report. At the bottom, a handwritten note, genetic structure incompatible with Earth-based life forms. I sat back. My mouth felt dry. I almost closed the folder, almost put it all back. But there was one more document, a transcript, a conversation between my mom and something labeled Specimen 019, Doctor. Can you tell me where you're from? Specimen 019, you already know. Dr. K, I'd like you to say it out loud. Specimen 019 pauses. The place you call GJ 581C. Dr. K, how long have you been on Earth? Specimen 019, no response. Dr. K, are you alone? Specimen 019, no. Dr. K, how many of you are here? Specimen 019, more than you are comfortable knowing. I dropped the papers. My breathing was too loud. GJ 581C. I knew that name. It wasn't some made-up sci-fi term. It was a real planet, a confirmed exoplanet orbiting a red dwarf star. Scientists speculated it could support life, but as far as anyone knew, no contact had ever been made. Yet here, in my mom's safe, was a record of a conversation with something that claimed to be from there. And now, everything started to make sense. The jokes my mom made, the late-night calls, the fact that she never, not once, talked about what she did at work. She wasn't joking. She was serious. And now, I had proof. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those black, glassy eyes staring back at me. The DNA reports, the x-rays, the conversation. I kept replaying my mom's voice in my head. They're not human. It had always been a joke, until it wasn't. I stayed up staring at my laptop, my mind racing. This wasn't some blurry UFO sighting or a guy on the internet claiming he got abducted. This was official documentation. My mom wasn't researching strange diseases or classified military experiments. She was treating something that shouldn't exist. By morning, I had made a decision. I had to know more. As soon as my mom left for work, I went back into her office. The safe was already open. I had put everything back exactly as I found it. But now I wanted something concrete, something I could take with me. I pulled out my phone and started snapping pictures of the files, the x-rays, the DNA reports, the interview transcripts. My hands were still shaking, but I moved fast. I didn't know if she checked her safe regularly, but I wasn't taking chances. Then I noticed something new, a USB drive tucked under one of the folders. It looked old, scratched up, like it had been used way too many times. I grabbed it, shoved everything back in place, and got out of there. Back in my room, I plugged it into my laptop. There was only one file on it, a video. No title, no timestamp, just a black thumbnail. I clicked it. For the first few seconds, there was nothing, just static. Then the screen flickered, and grainy security footage appeared. It was a room, not a hospital room, not a lab. It looked more like a holding cell. The walls were plain, featureless. A single examination table sat in the middle, and someone or something was sitting on it. The same black eyes, the same too human face that wasn't quite right. It wasn't moving, not tied up, not restrained, just sitting there, watching. Then the door in the background opened. A person walked in, not a soldier, not a scientist in a lab coat, a doctor. And for a second, my entire body went cold, because I recognized her. It was my mom. She walked in holding a clipboard, flipping through pages like she was doing a routine checkup. The thing on the table turned its head slightly, watching her. No sound, no talking, just silence as she moved closer. Then the video glitched. For a split second, the screen cut to black. When it came back, my mom was backing away. Her posture was different now, tense. One hand still on the clipboard, the other reaching for something in her pocket, and the thing on the table. It was standing now, not moving, not attacking, just standing. Then the screen glitched again. More static. The video cut out. That was it. No ending, no explanation. I just sat there, staring at my laptop, my heartbeat hammering in my ears. What the hell did I just watch? I pulled the USB out and threw it across my bed like it had burned me. I needed to talk to my mom. Not directly. I wasn't stupid. But I had to see if she would slip up. That night, I waited until we were both in the kitchen. She was making tea, scrolling through her work phone. I leaned against the fridge, keeping my voice casual. "So, do you ever have patients just leave?" She didn't even look up. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," I shrugged. Like I was watching this video about prison escapes, and it got me thinking. Has anyone ever just disappeared from Area 51? She froze. It was quick, so quick that if I wasn't watching for it, I might have missed it. Her fingers tightened around the mug, just for a second. Then she let out a small laugh. "That's not really how it works." She grabbed her tea and changed the subject. I let her, because that reaction. It told me everything I needed to know. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that video. My mom standing in that room, that thing watching her. The moment everything shifted. What happened after the video cut out? I couldn't ask her. She would never tell me. But I knew one thing. She was hiding something. And I needed to find out what. The next day, while she was at work, I went back into her office. Her desk was spotless. No loose papers, no notebooks. Just her work laptop, a closed planner, and a single pen perfectly aligned with the edge of the table. But I wasn't looking for papers this time. I went for the drawer, locked, of course. But my mom wasn't the type to use complicated passwords. Her birth year, her laptop password, the name of our dog. So I tried the drawer lock, my dad's birth year, click. It opened. Inside there were only two things. A USB drive, different from the one I found before, and a folder labeled Patient Reports. I picked up the folder first. The moment I opened it, I felt my stomach tighten. These weren't like the patient files I had seen before. They weren't medical reports. They were status updates. Patient number 004. Location UN known. Patient number 007. Location UN. Patient number 011. Location UN known. I flipped through the pages. The list went on. Every single patient, their last known location, UN known. They were gone, not discharged, not transferred, just missing. And then I saw it. A small sticky note, handwritten in my mom's sharp, neat handwriting. It said only one thing: do not bring them back. My hands felt cold. I looked at the USB drive. Whatever was on it, my mom had locked it away for a reason. I plugged it into my laptop. Just like before, there was only one file, another video. I clicked it. This time the footage wasn't inside a facility. It wasn't a holding cell or a lab. It was outside. A grainy black and white security feed showing a desert road at night. Two figures were walking down the road. At first I thought it was a person and one of the patients. But as I watched closer, I realized neither of them were human. They were leaving, just walking away, not running, not being chased, just disappearing into the night. Then the screen glitched. For a second the footage flickered, and when it came back, they were gone. No cars, no helicopters, nothing, just an empty road. Like they had vanished into thin air. I unplugged the USB, put everything back exactly the way I found it, and sat there staring at my laptop. They escaped, all of them, and my mom knew it. That sticky note, do not bring them back. She wasn't trying to protect them, she was afraid of them. And now I had only one question left. What the hell were they running from? I sat in my room for what felt like hours, staring at my laptop screen. The video, the files, the missing patients, it all played over and over in my head. I had been asking the wrong question this whole time. It wasn't where they went. It wasn't why they left. It was what happens if they come back. And deep down, I already knew the answer. I was in over my head. This wasn't just about my mom's job or some buried government secret. It was bigger than that. Something had escaped. Something they were never supposed to lose. And someone somewhere was afraid of what came next. That night I decided to stop. No more digging. No more dark web forums. No more trying to piece together something I wasn't meant to understand. I wiped my laptop, deleted the photos, destroyed the USB. By the time my mom got home from work, I was sitting at the kitchen table like nothing had happened. She poured herself a cup of tea, scrolling through her phone. For a moment I just watched her. I could ask. Right now I could ask her everything. Demand the truth. Tell her what I saw, what I knew, but I didn't. Instead I just said, "You look tired." She smiled, took a sip of her tea. "Long day." I nodded. Then casually I asked, "You ever lose a patient?" She paused. Not long, not enough for a normal person to notice. But I noticed. Then she smiled again. "Not the kind you're thinking of." I smiled back. Good. We didn't talk about it again, but from that day on, I started paying attention. The way my mom always checked the locks before bed. The way she kept her phone on silent, but still glanced at it every few minutes. The way she never not once mentioned what happened at work. And the way on some nights she'd step outside onto the porch, cup of tea in hand, and just stare at the sky, like she was waiting for something. Or maybe making sure something wasn't coming back. I never asked, and I never went looking again, because some things are meant to stay buried.